Hi everyone, I've got some news that I want to share and document. This one is not going to be translated, this is a little bit of a different video. I have been diagnosed with MS or multiple sclerosis, and in this video I kind of just want to cover a couple of topics on what MS is, how I was diagnosed with it, the symptoms that I have, and how I feel about the final diagnosis of MS. MS has no known cause, nor does it have a cure. So once you get it, you've kind of got it for life. It is an autoimmune disease where your immune system perceives healthy tissues in your own body as a threat and begins to attack and destroy those healthy tissues. It affects your central nervous system, which is your brain, your optic nerves, and your spinal cord. And the central nervous system is responsible for pretty much everything that you do, so from thought processes to movement to speech to taste to smell to touch to sense. Everything is connected to the central nervous system. To understand how MS affects the central nervous system, you first have to kind of understand how the central nervous system works. So basically the brain sends messages down nerve endings called axons, and those axons relay that information down to where they need to be and then relay information back up to the brain, so there's communication going on. Around the nerves is a fatty substance called the myelin sheath, which protects those signals going to the brain, down the nerve, and then to where they need to be. What happens with MS is the body perceives the myelin sheath as a antibody and a foreign object that needs to be destroyed, so it will start to attack this protective coating around the nerve, and it will expose nerves and cause damage to those nerves. So when that myelin sheath is taken away, information from the brain then doesn't quite run through those nerves as effectively as they should, and information can either get lost or get distorted or not get there at all. That's what MS is, that's how it affects the body. It stops information from getting from the brain to where it needs to be, and over time the body will keep on attacking that special protective layer around the nerves, and time again scar tissue will start to build up over those nerves, hence sclerosis, which is scars, and those nerves will permanently be damaged. So that's what MS basically is and how it affects the nervous system. I first noticed symptoms in October 2012, and so I went to my doctor and she didn't know what was going on, so I was sent to a neurologist who sent me for an MRI scan, and the results of that MRI scan showed that I had 2 lesions on my brain, so I had 2 areas of scarring on the nerves in my brain. And it took up until about April 2013 for a diagnosis of clinically isolated syndrome, and what that is an attack of neurological symptoms that someone with MS would experience, but because it was a single attack and I hadn't had anything before, they couldn't tell me whether or not it was MS. But they did say that eventually, with the symptoms that I had presented with and the fact that I had lesions already on my brain, that I would eventually develop MS. I was diagnosed with CIS a couple of weeks after I started hormones, and my symptoms disappeared eventually. Took a couple of months, but symptoms disappeared, and I wasn't bothered about it that much. I was told I probably could wait 5-10 years until I had another attack, so I didn't really think much of it until a month ago when I started to see the symptoms coming back and worse, and some new symptoms as well. And so I got in contact with my MS nurse and my neurologist. They told me to come in straight away. I told them what I was experiencing, and that was last week. And it was at that appointment last week that my neurologist said, unfortunately, he was able to definitely confirm a diagnosis of MS because this was my second attack. We were both quite shocked at how quickly it had progressed. So the next steps now is management of symptoms and talking to work and medications that can help. So that's pretty much how I got diagnosed. The thing with MS is there are so many nerves that can be affected that no two people suffering with MS will have the exact same symptoms or experience the same symptoms as each other. My main symptoms seem to be more cognitive than sensation or mobility or losing eyesight. So my main big symptoms are that my mental processing has slowed down considerably. I can't process information as fast as I could. I lose strings to sentences, I lose words. I'll be in the middle of explaining something to someone and I cannot find the word that I need to use, and I'll just go blank, and then I'll forget what I was even talking about in the first place. That's really annoying when you're talking about something and you lose what you were saying. I'm having problems with my memory. I'll think to do something, go away to do it, walk into a room and completely forget what it was that I'd gone in there to do. And it isn't just, some people say, oh, I do that. It's not the same. It's difficult to explain. It's losing everything that you were doing and having to restart again. It's such a weird experience. I also noticed that I was starting to drop things. I was finding it difficult to walk upstairs. I was falling upstairs. My leg wouldn't go up the stairs. That was a weird symptom. I've been getting numbness in my thumb, down here, down my fingers, down my arm here. No sensation there. I've got no sensation across the tops of my shoulders. I've been getting numbness and tingling in my feet. And they come on in waves, like it gets worse and then it'll subside and then it flares up again. That's all to do with my body attacking the nerves, and so information isn't getting to my nerves as quickly as they should or at all. So those are my main symptoms. And fatigue, I've only just started to. Here we go. There's an example of losing words. Experience fatigue, and it's a tiredness that I've never experienced before. I mean, I could sleep for 24 hours and still wake up tired, and it feels like I'm dragging my body through mud, and even looking at doing anything is exhausting. It's a horrible, horrible feeling to go through. But yeah, those are my main symptoms. Everyone seems to be telling me that I'm dealing with this remarkably well, and To be honest, this isn't news that's come out of the blue. This diagnosis isn't brand new. We knew eventually 2 years ago that this eventually was going to happen. So I've had 2 years to get my head around the fact that I will eventually one day be diagnosed with MS, and it just happened to be last week. In 9 days' time, I'm turning 26, and I've dealt with, in my opinion, a lot of things that are out of the ordinary that most people will never have to experience or go through. So I've had to deal with my sexuality when I was 16, and then gender identity, and then deal with starting hormones and deciding on surgeries that are life changing, and then just to add this to the mix. Yeah, I felt, why me? This isn't fair, but it's nothing that I've done that has caused this. So I can't really blame anything. I can't blame myself. I can't blame what I've done. I can't blame anything. All I can do is get on with what I was doing originally and live my life as best as I can. It's another hurdle that's been thrown in my way, and I've already proved to myself that I can get over obstacles. So that's how I'm dealing with it and how I'm feeling about it. It's just the person that I think I've become. Yeah.